Well, good morning, everyone. Still morning, I guess, almost afternoon. Thank you guys for coming in for today's session on defining your association value. My name is Greg Wright. I'm with the American Institute of CPAs, and we're just going to kind of kick it off right away. So, with the American Institute of CPAs, we have a number of different member publications, as I'm sure you all do, that our members value very highly. One in particular is called CPA Letter Daily, and this e-newsletter is a daily publication, as the name implies, that covers the top news in the accounting profession. And often, it's about 5 years old now. This publication launched about 5 years ago. And we do a number of focus groups with our members, and our members are always saying, oh, we love this publication. It's so great. We get so much information from it. And because of that, there's a lot of focus on the publication from our executive leadership. So everything is very, the metrics on it have to be spot on. We always have to be increasing our open rate or always increasing our subscribers. And we ran into a problem with CPA Letter Daily in that we kind of ran out of members to add to the subscription list. We had marketed the newsletter to all of our members. There wasn't anybody left to add. I mean, as you got in new members, we certainly included them in the publication, but we had a hard time continually to increase subscription levels as it was required. And so we looked at an opportunity to branch out and see if we can bring in non-members. Now, the CPA Letter Daily publication had always been open to non-members, and some non-members had signed up for it, but we never really marketed towards our non-members. And so this was an opportunity, we felt, to do that. But in order to get support from our senior leadership, we needed to build a case, a campaign around doing a marketing campaign to our non-members. So this is Skeptical Baby, one of my favorite memes. And I'm sure you might have been asked this question at some point when you're talking to your senior leadership. Is digital content really worth it? And you can replace digital content with pretty much anything. Is social media really worth it? Are e-newsletters really worth it? What's the value in posting to Facebook? What's the value in the like from Facebook? What's the value in having a blog? And sometimes that's hard to prove beyond the thought leadership capacity. So that is one question we're going to try to answer today. We're also going to try to answer some of these other questions, including what's the value of a visitor or a page view? What exactly is member engagement, or how do you want to define member engagement? How can you measure member engagement? And then how about revenue-generating activities like product sales, conference registrations? How does that come into play? And ultimately, what does all of this mean? So one of the things that we do at CPA Letter Daily is we track product sales. And the reason we do this is because we want to prove that there's a value in having a subscriber. And so here's one of our lovely little products, CPA's Guide to Financial and Estate Planning. It's very exciting material. And what we do is, in CPA Letter Daily, we have adopted a method in which we track the sale of a product. And essentially what we're talking about here is we're not necessarily saying, so we know Bob Smith bought this product. What we're talking about is we want to know where this product was, what drove the member to buy this product, right? So did they see the product in CPA Letter Daily and click on a link and then buy the product? Or did they see it on Facebook? Did they see it on our blog? What was the origin source? So what we started doing was we started tracking product conversion. And we started by doing this, we use Coremetrics, which is now known as IBM Digital Analytics. IBM seems to be buying everything these days. And what essentially this does is you have your product URL, and it appends a code at the end of that URL I'll show you the URL here, that basically allows you to track where that product came from. So here's an example. This is the Journal of Accountancy, which is our monthly print magazine, which also has an online content presence. And you can see there are some products here on the right, some advertisements, and I apologize because the quality of that image is not great. But on the very bottom right-hand side, there's actually a section there called AICPA Store Resources. And in that section are links to different products that are related to the content you see on this page. And each one of those products is encoded with this link So as you see, the very top in gray is our regular product link. I will tell you it's not a pretty link at all. It's a very long URL. But the piece in red that just looks like garbage is actually a coded link that Coremetrics generates. And that allows us to say, wow, 300 people clicked on this link and 150 people bought the product from this link. And you can do that with every single URL that you create for a product, whether it's in Facebook or if it's in Twitter or on LinkedIn or any newsletter publication. And basically, essentially allows you to track and say how many people came from this source and ended up buying the product. Now, this information is going to come in handy for the next step. But there are other systems out there that do this. You don't have to use Coremetrics. Google Analytics, which I'm sure you're aware of, is free. Google Analytics also has an e-commerce component that you can turn on. That component is also free, which will allow you to do similar tracking. There are other platforms out there that also do this kind of product conversion tracking. Essentially, if you have your own store, you have your own shopping cart, they may also offer an analytics package, or they may have integrators available for your analytics package. So I would definitely take a look and see what if you're currently using, if they have something available. If not, you can take a look and see if Google Analytics has a solution or if there's another third-party solution that might work for you. But the reason that we're tracking this number, and we're tracking our product sales, is because we want to use the revenue that we're generating in order to prove that there's a value in what we're doing. So the next step is we're going to talk about defining the value of our likes or of our visitors to this particular page. So if we go back to the page we just looked at, the Journal of Accountancy page, there's two points I should point out here. One, there's ad sales on the right-hand side. These are not AICPA ads. These are ads for other organizations. We sell ad space into this particular website. And then, of course, you have your product sales. So this website is generating revenue in two ways. One, through its ad sales, and then twice through our own product sales. So those numbers directly impact, going the wrong way, directly impact your total revenue generation. And so essentially what we're doing is we're going to do some math, which I know is not all of our, maybe not all be our strong suit, certainly isn't mine, but we're going to do it. Essentially what you want to do is to define the value or calculate the value of your like from a Facebook page or a visitor from a page view or your subscriber. You want to determine the total amount of revenue that you're generating from that particular content. So in this case, we're talking about the Journal of Accountancy website. You could be talking about CPA Letter Daily or e-newsletter. You could be talking about our Facebook page, excuse me, whichever the case is. What we did is when we started tracking our revenue, we looked at it from a period over a year before we started launching into any additional metrics. And the reason we did that is because with CPAs, there is a kind of a wave in our product sales. Essentially, tax season, you can't really get any of our members to pay attention to anything. So we skip over tax season, very low period in our product sales cycle. As you emerge from tax season, CPAs start paying attention again. They have continuing professional education deadlines that come up in June and July, so you start seeing an uptick in product sales. So in order to get an accurate revenue number, annual revenue number, we looked at the revenue for the entire year. You may find that looking at the revenue for 6 months is enough for you. You may find a year you need at least. It really depends on what your product life cycle is for your members. Again, for the AICPA, because we do kind of have a rolling, a little bit of a rolling cycle for our products, we chose to look at it for an entire year. So let's take a look at how we're going to do this and actually go through the calculation. So these are fake numbers. I made them up because I'm not good at math and I like to be able to easily do math in front of a bunch of people. So let's say that Journal of Accountancy, that particular, the Journal of Accountancy website, let's say it produces $5 million in annual revenue from ad sales and product sales. In order to determine the value of adding more visitors and getting more visitors to that site, we're going to go ahead and take it and divide that by the number of unique visitors that arrive onto that website. So let's say there's 300,000 unique visitors. The number is actually, that's really low, but that's the number we're going to use for this example. So 300,000 unique visitors go to the Journal of Accountancy website. And if you do the math, it works out to about $16.67. And essentially what we're saying is every visitor has the potential to make $16.67 in revenue. Now, you'll note we're not taking into account any expense or anything like that. And we're really just here to prove what the value of that particular, of a visitor is, not necessarily the expense of doing these things. And essentially, the reason we're doing that is, for example, with Journal of Accountancy, we're never going to get rid of that publication. It is kind of the base of the AICPA. Highly unlikely we'd ever get rid of it. So we don't need to justify that. We don't need to justify the publication. We're just looking for an opportunity to expand and reach out to non-members. So this 1667, of course, is not an exact number. It's an estimate. It's an average. You know, not every visitor that comes to this website is going to generate that much money because they're not going to click on a link. They may not necessarily click on a product or buy a product or even stay on the page for very long. So we wanted to go a little bit further. And in order to do this, we had to think about what engagement meant. And so this is where we come back to what does engagement mean? How do you measure that engagement? I mean, wouldn't it be great if every visitor to your page was engaged? They stayed on the page for a long time. They read the entire thing. They clicked on the ads. They bought products. That'd be fantastic, but not everybody does that. And in fact, we don't even know really what is engagement. I mean, what does it mean to be engaged? And what it means to be engaged as a member of the AICPA could be entirely different for what it means to be engaged as a member at the AMA or any other association. And I wanted to share this UNICEF piece here. It basically says, like us on Facebook, and we'll vaccinate 0 children against polio. And I show this because I guess, you know, what is the value of a like on Facebook? And we talked about that a little bit, but I think it drives home the point that it's great that you like your association on Facebook. It's great that you're driving people to your product pages or to your content, but ultimately, we're not curing polio. Ultimately, you need them to buy a product, you need them to be engaged in your content in order to cure polio. In this case, for UNICEF, you need to donate money in order so that they can go out and purchase polio vaccines to administer them. But I thought it was a great kind of representation of what it means to be engaged in your content. For online content, specifically for newsletters, the AICPA, we decided that for CPA Letter Daily, which is the example I'm going to use here, we decided that open rate was the most important thing. Yes, click rate is fantastic, and the number of subscribers is great, product conversion rates are great, but for us, the minimum somebody that subscribes to CPA Letter Daily can do is open the publication. That's the absolute kind of minimum level of engagement. And that's what we really wanted to measure, because we felt with open rate, the more people that are opening it, the more we can say, hey, look how active our subscribers are. So the AICPA sat back and we decided we needed to define engagement. And the first thing we did was we said, this is what engagement is not. Engagement is not automatically opting in all of your members to your publication. That's not engagement. That's you're forcing the newsletter on your members, and maybe your members want that publication. We certainly actually do that as well for different publications. For CPA Letter Daily, we never automatically opted in our members. We offered them an option. Please, you want this publication, it's every day. It's a lot of email. So we didn't want everybody to just automatically receive the publication. But because of that, we said that engagement is definitely not somebody that's opted in automatically to a publication. It's not a passive user, if you will. Engagement is somebody that's actively engaged, which I know the one rule of definition is not to use the word that you're defining in the definition, and I know I just did that, but it's somebody who's actively engaged in the publication, somebody that is opening the publication, clicking on the publication, clicking on a link in the publication, they're more likely to buy a product. They're more likely to click on your links. They're more likely to see an ad. And ultimately, that's seeing the ads and buying the products, that's what's driving your revenue. So we had to go out and had to identify what the corresponding metrics were that would show that engagement. And as we said, or I said earlier, open rate for the AICPA was like, this is where we're going, this is our space. We're going to focus on increasing our open rate. These are our active subscribers, everybody that opens this publication. And if you think about it, with a daily publication, opening it is really the least you can do. And in fact with CP Alert Daily, and let's, I'm going to move ahead here so you can, this is actually CP Alert Daily, and I probably should have shown this to you earlier. I apologize. And it's also, you can't really read it because it's small. But this is CP Alert Daily, goes out every day. We produce it in partnership with SmartBrief. And you can see in this publication we've got a few things going on. We've got some ad space that we sell. There are some, the very on the bottom there is actually for an AICPA membership section. So we're selling membership in the product as well, conferences, products, and so forth. The publication is actually built so that it provides you a brief summary of the news, of what's happening. So we actually don't care if members don't click on a link, because the purpose of the publication is not to get them to click. The purpose of the publication is to get them the news and information. So if they can get what they need from the headline, or if they can get what they need from the 2 or 3 sentences that are in the abstract, then we're okay if they don't click on the link. So we said measuring engagement through click-through rate is not valuable for us. We want open rate. So then we went out and said, well, we need to calculate what the value of engagement is for these active users, because this is what we want to focus on. We want to go out and get more of these active subscribers that are non-members. So let's say CP Alert Daily has an open rate of 30%, which is good. We decided that we wanted to figure out, so about how many subscribers does that equal? If CP Alert Daily has 400,000 subscribers, again, not real numbers, but if CP Alert Daily had 400,000 subscribers, that means about 120,000 of them are active. And again, this is an average, this is a generalization. Certainly not the same 120,000 members open it every day. Some days it might be Bob, and some days it might be Jill. Now let's say CP Alert Daily generates $1 million in revenue through their ad sales and through product sales every year. So we can say that because of that $1 million is generally going to come from the 120,000 active subscribers we have. And so that essentially, when you do the math on that, comes out to $8.33 as a value of an active subscriber. Essentially what this is saying, again, it's an average, it's a generalization, but each active subscriber CP Alert Daily has the potential to generate $8.33. Now this number, what we do with this number next is really where this all comes into play. I'm going to check my time real quick. Okay. So what we do with this number next is we use this number as a base for our marketing campaigns to bring in new non-members to subscribe to the publication. We used it as our cost per active subscriber acquisition is essentially what we called it. And essentially what we're saying is we're willing to pay $8.33 for every single new active subscriber we get for the publication. So we developed a marketing campaign strategy, we developed marketing plans that went out and said, all right, we're going to launch cost per acquisition ads, we're going to launch pay-per-click ads, we're going to do some direct mail, all using this $8.33 as a base for the budget. Saying every person we bring in, if the cost to bring that person in goes above $8.33, then we've missed the mark. We've lost the value on that particular subscriber. The goal was always to keep it $8.33 or below. So I'm just going to show you some of the ads that we did, just so you can see them. So what we did was, so for example, just to kind of share this with you, for pay-per-click ads, as you know, just because somebody clicks on an ad, it doesn't mean that they're going to subscribe to your publication. So we did Google AdWords, we did ads in LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Our LinkedIn ads did amazing. As CPAs, LinkedIn is like their place, it's their home these days. And so With a pay-per-click ad, as you know, if you click on the ad, you're charged for every person that clicks on your ad. Just because somebody clicked on the ad doesn't mean they're going to subscribe to the publication. And so what we decided to do was, we didn't use the $8.33 value of an active subscriber for the pay-per-click ads. We used a much lower number, about $3, because that was about, we're only really willing to pay $3 per click, because we didn't feel that every person that clicks on this ad is going to subscribe. So we're trying to save money in that sense. But what's great, and particularly about Google AdWords, if you've ever used it long enough, if you have a campaign that runs long enough, you open up new options in Google AdWords. And one of those options is the option to launch into a cost per acquisition ad, or a CPA ad. And essentially what that's saying is, you're saying with Google, I'm willing to spend a little bit more money if you can target my ad to people that will actually subscribe to the publication, or actually complete the action that you want, or that I want them to complete. So you can add, so for example, with the newsletter, you have a subscription page. You add a little bit of code on the thank you page that says, thank you for subscribing. And Google can then track that user from when they see the ad in the search result page to clicking on the ad, going to your subscription page, entering in your email address, their email address, subscribing, and then when they get to that thank you for subscribing page, Google can report back and say, hey, we just got somebody that subscribed. And we decided, well, we're willing to pay a little bit more for that because they're actually going to subscribe to it. And Google's targeting that ad towards people that will actually subscribe to your newsletter. So we used the $8.33 for that. But anyway, so we did some other marketing campaigns, direct mail campaigns. We did some, we reached out to accounting educators at universities across the country as well as high schools and said, hey, why don't you think about using this publication in your classrooms? It's up to date, it's top news, what about, that new revenue recognition standard just came out, maybe you should talk to your students about that. Use our publication as a resource. So we did that as well as encouraged the educators to share it with their students and get their students to subscribe. We did other kinds of campaigns, trial campaigns, with other similar associations where we shared our information. We did banner ads in some of our other newsletters. And essentially all it basically boils all down to is that we were able to go ahead and increase our non-member subscriptions to CPA Letter Daily. We ran this campaign for about 6 months, and we increased the non-member subscriptions by about 50,000, which brought us to about, I think we're in the middle of a trial campaign, so I don't know what the actual number is, but I think we're up to about 225,000 subscribers. So that was a significant increase for us in non-members. And the benefit of bringing in non-members in this particular campaign was, of course, non-members, you have a wonderful potential with non-members. They can become members. They can buy product. This is a whole new source of revenue that didn't exist before. And this methodology can actually be applied to other things as well. Social media, you can apply it if you have products that you're trying to sell. Newsletters, other web content. Of course, now, if you don't have any products, if you are a membership list association or nonprofit, this may not work for you. But there are other ways to show engagement. In this particular case, what we were looking at is really that we just wanted to really drive home the point that we wanted, that we were using our revenue that we were generating to bring in more active members so that we could continue to increase our revenue. So we have some time for questions, so if you have any, please let me know. I just love memes. I can't get enough of them, so they're my last ones. So does anybody have any questions? I kind of only had a short amount of time, so I kind of feel like I ran through that a little fast. So, yeah.
On the unique visitors, do you track average monthly unique visitors as opposed to total?
Thank you. The question was, do we track average unique monthly visitors as opposed to the total? We do track both, but for this particular calculation, we use the total for the entire year, not just per month. We use the annual number. Anybody else? Yeah.
For some of the ads, in our case, they would be partner product, loyalty situation. So they've never been able to really make the connection once somebody clicks through on our page. They start picking up the tracking for their page, but it's not really related. And it sounds like you're related
You're talking about like a partner ad, not necessarily your
Right.
own ad, yeah. So the question is, how do you, I guess, kind of track, if it's a partner ad, how do you track them from once they leave your site and go onto that partner site? We actually, well, so we don't actually track for the ads that are not AICPA ads. We don't track that user path, if you will. Once they leave our site, we let them go.
Just taking the revenue.
Right, we only track it if it's an AICPA ad for an AICPA product. That's when we track it from click to purchase. For non-AICPA ads, we just don't track it. I believe there are ways, and you'd have to definitely work with that partner company to do it, but it would be a little complicated. Yeah.
We use for our paid ads on our website and our newsletters, we use a service called Zedo, Z-E-D-O, and that actually gives us analytics for those paid ads.
They use Zedo, Z-E-D-O, if anybody didn't hear that, to track the ads. Cool. Any other questions? Okay. That's the end. I'll be here, so if you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. You can also reach me on Twitter, YouTube, and SlideShare. Today's presentation, there's multiple kind of segments of today's presentation that went through social media and e-newsletters that was separate from the content area we went through. So you can actually, as of right now, download this presentation on SlideShare at slideshare.net/Daspian. And of course, most of this is also available in the handouts that the conference ASAE has put together, so you can get that there as well. And then, that's it. Thank you guys very much for tuning in and sitting in here. Have some chocolate, please. Take it home. It's kosher.